Have you ever spent entire days in bed due to depression? If so, what were your first steps in breaking the cycle? Friend knew I was having trouble, so he came to my apartment in his very loud way and spoke very firmly about me getting up and getting a shower while pulling open the curtains. He came every day until I started doing it myself. For about 2 years I barely got out of bed to do anything other than work or eat. I live in NYC, so everything can be delivered. I couldn't even get myself to clean my app regularly, and that depressed me even more. So I was always beating myself up about all of the time I was spending in bed doing nothing, wasting my life. One day I decided I would stop beating myself up and instead give myself credit for any little thing I accomplished. I told myself, if my apartment is a disaster and all I can do today is clean one spoon in a sink full of dirty dishes and go back to bed, that will be enough and I will give myself credit for it. So I did that. Every day I did one thing, no matter how small, and I told myself, good job, you did it, now you can go back to bed guilt-free. Little by little I did more and more every time I got up. Sometimes I would start with one spoon but clean several more dishes, until eventually I was getting them all done. Then I moved on to getting myself to walk the very short walk around the block to go to the deli to get my sandwiches, instead of having them delivered. I wouldn't beat myself up because I wasn't cooking. I gave myself credit for getting up to get my food. Eventually I started cooking again. Baby steps. Give yourself credit. Encourage yourself like you would encourage a small child. Don't beat yourself up. Be very mindful of the content you're consuming as well. I started making sure everything I saw online was positive and encouraging, and I unfollowed and muted news, and anyone who posted outrage bait on social media. It all adds up eventually. I pulled myself out of 20 years of depression, and it all started by giving myself credit for washing a spoon. Yes. When you are that deep in the cycle, you have to find the strength to stop waiting for the motivation to do stuff. The inactivity drains motivation and energy, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't do anything, so you aren't motivated to do stuff, so you keep not doing. Instead, pick something relatively small that you know you can force yourself to do even without motivation in advance. It can be as simple as taking dirty plates downstairs and getting a fresh glass of water. Maybe going and brushing your teeth. Having a shower is a really good step if you can psyche yourself up for it. Being clean really helps break that cycle. Even just getting up to put on some clean pajamas and finding a face cloth to wipe away some surface grime. The point is, force yourself into that first step even when you aren't motivated. Getting one thing done will remind you that it wasn't as bad as your brain thought, and it will be easier to persuade yourself next time. Each activity you manage to complete will help to wake up some motivation and bring you closer to breaking the cycle. Good luck. It's an awful place to be, and I wish you all the best on your recovery. Take it one step at a time, one day at a time. It's hard, scary and exhausting, but you can do this. Edit. Thank you for the silver/gold kind strangers. Absolutely not needed. It's reward enough seeing all the amazing responses and feedback from everyone. Yes. I think my max is 2.5 days. Sometimes pretending that I'm self-care relaxing. I now have a daily tick list of things to do, which includes teeth cleaning, lunch making, etc. I know if I can do one tiny thing in the list it will be the start of the end. I realized after about a month that the me and the bed were starting to stink. I forced myself to strip the bed and jump in the shower. That feeling of a nice fresh shower always brings me back. You forget to take care of yourself when you're in that mindset, but once you force yourself to do one thing, you can do so much more. Yes, just recently. Something small happened with the tiny fight I had with my mum and I spiraled out of control. I was running on autopilot for days and just so miserable, but also felt nothing. I haven't felt that bad in years. It really scared me. I tried all the usual routes of helping myself: gardening, listening to good music, cleaning my house, baking some sweet treats or preparing a delicious meal. None of it was working. Finally my mum asked me if something was wrong because I must not have been hiding it as well as I thought. I said no, stupid. Then, when she left I sobbed uncontrollably until I gained enough strength to go to her house and tell her everything. I cried in her lap for 30 minutes and I felt a little better each day since then. Next time, I'm going straight to the last step of talking about it. I don't want to have to feel that terrible and scared again anytime soon. Edit. Mistake in phrasing. Yeah. I usually get hungry eventually, or remember that I can also be sad in the shower. One step at a time. Come on, words, hugs and tea. Can't face university? No problem. You don't have to go to uni. Just sit up. Can you do that for me? Just take a deep breath and sit up straight. Okay. So far, so good. Now stand up. Your chest is already cold from the blanket falling off, just stand up. Great. Get into the shower and turn on the water. It's okay if you have to lean your head against the wall. Just get in the shower and turn the water on. That's all. Sweet. Now eat breakfast. You love food. Everybody loves food. Alright? Grab your bag and head out to the bus stop. That kind of stuff. I used to go for the long-term motivation. Seize the day, pursue your dreams, type thought process, but sometimes the grandeur of it all just intimidates me and makes me feel so small and helpless, and it seems so far off. So I went the other way and made everything small so they seem super easy for me. I don't usually go this route, but when the times get tough and I just want to stay in bed and let the world go on without me, this is the type of thinking I do to get myself out of bed. This does not work for everybody and might even worsen the symptoms, but for me it works wonders. Those days, when I feel I can't function and I end up laying on the sofa staring at the ceiling, I say this is okay, today I will do absolutely nothing and I can wallow in this awful feeling. After a good night's sleep it will feel better and there is a new day tomorrow. Almost every time this works, since I acknowledge I feel like shit, I accept it, for now, and I get a do-over tomorrow. But for me this isn't starting a negative spiral down, therefore it works for me. Not wanting to do anything. Not wanting to be anything. Not wanting to be at all. I don't necessarily want to die. I just want to have never existed. Take a shower is a big one. Go outside, not just your room, outdoors outside. Even for 5 breaths makes a difference. Do one task, you decide what you're capable of doing. Take things to the sink or empty the sink or clean a plate or gather up trash. But it has to be one physical thing, not just thinking of it and planning it out. Then be grateful you did the thing, be proud that it's done. When the self-loathing kicks in telling you how much more you're supposed to do, realize that you've already done more than you were doing, and who did it? If you can do one thing, eventually you can do more. That's it. Take deep breaths, like exaggerated breaths. Fresh air as often as you can, and drink lots of water. You can do it and you are capable. Everything starts with tiny steps. You writing this was your first physical tiny step. Congratulations. Yes, I have it in me to go many days without leaving my bed except to go to the bathroom or somehow get more booze or food. Although at times I would entirely skip food for a day or two and just drink naked in bed. Terrible times. Similarly to others in this thread, I would just start small, and then had a "you can't give anything back" program in place. So day one of getting out of it I might just start with a hot shower followed by clean clothes, and then right back into bed. On day two, I can't give it back, meaning I can't not shower/clean clothes, and I am required to add something to it. Maybe that means I throw out anything nasty in the apartment and do dishes. Day 3 I do those things again and walk outside for 3 minutes. On and on until I have something resembling a small life again. Good luck. I got a cat tbh. I saw this great little poem a few days ago, but it did hit home. Getting a vet forced me to get up and feed her because it's not fair for her to starve. It forces me to get to clean her litter and go out and buy food and stuff. And it's nice having something that cares about you even when you think no one else does. Anyone else going through this thread trying to look for methods to help themselves? Shit, I work graveyard, so I use that as an excuse to be a lazy sod and not get up all day until I get ready for work and do it all over again. Still working on it tbh. You guys are breaking the cycle? I described the worst of depression as the following image. You're in a field in the pouring, freezing rain. You're soaking wet, shivering, and miserable. To keep warm, you've curled into a ball. You're still cold and wet and miserable, so you curl up tighter. Now, you reach a point where you can't curl up any tighter, you can't use this lube to get any warmer. But uncurling requires giving up the tiny spot of warmth you have. You really should get up and get out of the rain, but to do so will sacrifice any and all comfort you've found. Now, imagine an outside person coming up to the clutched ball of desperate shelter, maybe with rain gear and a hot beverage. "Hey," says the outsider, "I've got some stuff that will help." The curled up person can't even uncurl to accept it, because uncurling will inherently let the encroaching, permeating cold, wet, misery into those last tiny comfortable warm and dry spots. And thus, you're trapped. When you're in the lowest, deepest parts of depression, there's a tiny, fragile glow of cathartic comfort that you will protect with all your might, and the only way out is to sacrifice that comfort completely for the largely uncertain hope that there's a better comfort elsewhere. Depression is very, very difficult to escape. This helps me a lot. I will try and bed rest as if I have the flu. This could be wearing good pajamas, having fluids nearby, making ramen soup if I have the energy. If I pretend I have the flu, I don't feel like shit for staying in bed, and that takes a huge layer of guilt and shame off the baseline depression, and it's way more manageable. I also call depression brain flu to indicate it is temporary and not as scary. For all you people reading these threads, seeing the tiny tasks like brushing your teeth or putting on clothes and feeling overwhelmed, defeated, ashamed, guilty, or crushed all up. I know how you're feeling. Those things seem impossible and you're exasperated trying to define exactly why. It doesn't help when everyone else seems to size up these towering mountains and say, "That's nothing." Nothing compared to real tasks. You feel like an impotent sack of shit. I completely sympathize. But you're getting the wrong message. Those examples people throw out aren't meant to set some threshold limit of respectable acceptability. The success isn't defined by the size of the task. And the size of the task is allowed to be completely subjective, even asinine. In fact, for me, brushing my teeth is so indescribably fucking hard when I'm slipping. I could honestly do every dish in the house and my laundry and still just stare at that toothbrush like my arms are encased in cement. Why is that hard for me? Who cares? No one is judging me for that. The fact is, that is something that's harder for me. If I judged myself for being unable to pick up the toothbrush based on my perceived notion of how everyone else probably views the difficulty level of brushing teeth, I'd be in a sorry state for sure. When I am feeling super depressed, and there isn't one single productive task I can think of that doesn't feel impossible. The one thing I can always manage is to put one foot on the floor. That's it. I wriggle over to the edge of my sheets, stick a leg out, bend my knee, and plant that fucker down flat on the floor, and I've done it. Sometimes I lay there for a while, just feeling the floor on my foot. Like, see, I control these limbs after all. And after savoring the victory over myself, most of the time I am able to add a second foot. Holy shit. I'm practically out of bed at that point. I might draw my feet back into the warmth of my blankets, turn over, and float for another couple of hours. But more often than not, by the time both feet are up, it's suddenly much more possible for me to stand upright. And I swear to God, sometimes I just hobble around my room a few times and then flop back into my pillow. Sometimes I walk to the middle of my room, squat down on the floor and hold my shoulders or my head for a little bit. But with every little victory over myself, I gain a little momentum and it becomes a teensy bit more possible for me to achieve those teeny tiny gigantic tasks. Isn't it funny how on the before side of them, they seem insurmountable, but once you've done it you never give yourself the credit. Something that makes it harder is wondering when and how I will fail. Because I will. That's a fact. Sometimes I get winded. I'll crouch on the floor and think, great, I'm out of bed. But how long can I keep this up? It's only a matter of time. I can feel the exhaustion like a wolf at my heels. Bad thought. I don't know how long I can keep it up. That's not something I have control over. I don't get to choose when and how I break. But I can very slowly but surely wrap my head around how to recover. If putting one foot on the floor is too much right now, that's also fine. Again, there's no standard here. Try putting the palm of your hand flat on your sheet, and using your other hand to trace it. Breath up when you trace up a finger and out when you trace down. Back and forth. Find something that works for you. And if that's all you can manage before you sink back down, then that's great. Despite the great weight upon you, you managed all you could manage. It passes. It passes. Making an appointment to see a doctor. I have to go to school to keep up the facade. It's fine though. 1. Take a shower. Clean the house. Turn on some happy music. Go outside. 5. Start a little bit of exercising. Have some drinks with a friend, have some laughs. Get a normal sleep cycle. Dust myself off and go at it again. P.S. I don't beat myself up afterwards for having had a rough patch. Update. Didn't realize there was this much response. I know this list doesn't cure depression. The original question was, how do you start getting out of a depressive episode? The actions above tend to get me in a place where I can do the heavy lifting. Yeah, it's a tough one, that. I've been there. The key is, try and give yourself a reason to wake up in the mornings, some kind of motivation. It can be the smallest of things that can help. Me personally, I was given a cat. It sounds weird, but because of that, I look forward to getting home every day, and I wake up every morning to Kitty standing on my head shouting at me to wake up. This small gesture made a huge difference for me. You just have to find that reason. The simple notion of being depended on by another form of life can be very healthy, mentally speaking. Nothing matter, when you lay there. The way I do it, when I feel disgusting enough, I know I will benefit from a shower. But this shower ain't just a shower. This shower preps me to actually just do anything about my situation right now. It might take days just to come to this shower thought. But when it's there, I know the shower is happening sometime. All I can do is prepare me. So what if I could think about the clothes I want to wear? I don't want to go direct into bed again, so clothes seems nice. I start thinking what kind. To the smallest detail. What kind of underwear do I feel comfortable in? I start thinking, oh, when I shower anyway, maybe I should put lotion on my skin too. Maybe my skin would benefit from this as well. Oh, what about my teeth? Everything I do is for me. Or for my skin, my teeth, etc. Anything that make me look too far into the future, frightens me back into my bed. So I start small. And the shower is my way of coming back. I know I need to feel okay, and I don't in the bed. I take my time, and get out of the bed. Hope it may help put some things in perspective. Red heart. Edit. Spelling. Yeah. The hardest part is when you first get out of bed. Just get up to piss and force yourself to go make some coffee and start cleaning up some of your living space. For me, my room gets disgusting and messy, turns into a hellscape, and usually that gets me out of my rut for a few weeks. I'm on antidepressants now, but I still have my fucked up days, and I haven't been on them long, so it's gonna take some time, I guess. I suffered from heavy depression with multiple suicide attempts, which was a horrible time in my life. Recently, due to graduate studies, teaching responsibilities, and various emotional factors, I had a few bad days. Just today, while eating lunch, I felt like everything I have been working for is irrelevant, that I am at a point where I will undoubtedly fail at everything I do, and that no one around me likes me. Pity for myself, and an instinctual urge to end myself. I stood up, accepted the feelings that I had, that they can come at any time, anywhere. Went to the open window, took deep breaths while calling a close friend for help, lit up a cigarette, and just relaxed against the wall. Took a while to stop shaking. The scariest feelings I have ever had were back, in a seemingly normal mood. But at the end, through my friend's gentle help, and through repeating the better parts of my life in my head, I was able to stop it. 2 hours have passed since, feeling much better. Still shaken up about it, but once it comes again, I will again get help, and deal with it. Nothing beats living. I couldn't stay in bed since I had a small child, but there was a period of about a year where I took my son to school, picked him up, took him to the park, and went to the grocery store and went literally nowhere else. It sounds like a long list compared to staying in bed, but this lasted for at least a year. While my son was at school, I'd lay on the couch, or get into fights on Reddit, or watch TV. I didn't meet anyone or go anywhere apart from the store/park. I was barely functioning. My primary care provider told me that I had to find a reason to leave the house every day, not just for my son or food. I ended up getting a job at a cafe. I know I came across as a complete weirdo because of my long solitude, but they didn't mention it and were very kind to me. Gradually I recovered. Maybe a bit of a different answer than you were looking for, but I guess the TLDR is, having a reason to leave the house every day, and having a reason to communicate with people while out, help break the cycle. Yes, it made me miss my college classes, and then I realized my depression is really bad, so I made myself see a doctor and get medication. I only get up cause I have to feed my cat and pet frog. Then it's more of a challenge to get back in bed cause I have a bunk bed. Taking a shower. Even if I had to sit down and just let the water run over me. Wellbutrin and therapy saved me. First step was admitting I needed help and carrying my ass to the doctor. Get off Reddit. Then let me know how that worked because I'm still in bed. When I was very young, I had a phenomenal babysitter that taught me some weird form of self-love. I literally still use her system for my depressed self. It's called Big Girl Points. The basic rules is that I have to earn some points to do the things I want, like lay in bed for an hour, trying to do something is 1 point, getting halfway is 2, and completing it is 3. An example of this is if I get my dishes out of the sink and organize them, I get 1 point. If I start washing them I get 2. If I wash as many as will fit in the drying rack I get 3. I have to earn at least 6 points before getting my reward. So I can kinda do 6 things, half do 3 things, or finish 2 things, plus any combo you can think of. It really helps me when I lose executive function. A shower and a change of clothes can make a world of difference. Small steps equals little victories. Like everyone has said, the little things like brushing your teeth and washing your face will go a long way. I find that if I don't think about it and just do it, that also helps. So if I'm dreading getting out of bed, just do it without contemplating it, and before you know it, you're already there and have to deal with the next step. If that makes sense.